Hi, hello, and welcome today to Celebrity Customer Experience Riffs with me, Jill Raff. Today, we're going to talk briefly in our Experience Wins Tuesday, where we talk about customer experience stories, employee experience stories, and quick wins, things that we can replicate in our business to get a great experience, and those things we want to avoid. So, today, I'm going to talk about an experience I've had this week, very frustrating. I was going to go out and work on my laptop. It was gorgeous, sunny here in the 70s in Austin, Texas, filled with sunshine. And I thought, well, I better check my laptop, make sure I had everything that I needed, that the document showed up. Long story short, they did not. And I decided, well, it's Sunday. I procrastinate calling customer support all the time because it just ends up taking so long. And it ended up killing my entire Sunday. But what happened was, which is what specifically I want to speak to you about today, and please join me in the conversation through commenting if you're watching live, or if you're watching the replay, feel free to comment as well and just tag me so I see it. So the interesting thing was I found myself on the phone both with Apple and Google that day. Between the two, it killed my day. But today, I want to talk about what happened when I was chatting with customer support on Google. It is impossible, first of all, to ever find a human being, an individual to speak to with Google. I find that infuriating. It is so difficult to get anything done. And so I finally was able at least to get some live chat to figure out what was going on. And at one point, after over an hour, it was probably close to an hour and a half going back and forth. Initially, this person said, well, I'm really just good to help you with Google One and memory storage. But then as she was answering my questions, it seemed like she was knowledgeable to help me with some of the other technical problems I have with the syncing between my desktop and my laptop. So we're going on and on. And then at one point, I just realized, oh my God, I'm just like racking my brain. And I looked at the time and I was freaking out when I realized how much time had passed. And I just said, I really appreciate you. I thank you for your patience, but we're just not getting anywhere. And I have to get off soon. Is there somebody else perhaps who's more technically knowledgeable about my specific problem that could help me? I really, I did appreciate her. I did not want her to feel bad, but I needed to get my problem resolved, right? That's the end of the day. What do customers want? They're coming to you with a problem to be solved, whether it's hunger when you go out to eat, right? Whether they need a product, a service, whether they've had a problem with the delivery or the actual product or service that they've already bought. So it doesn't have to always be negative. So in the meantime, she got very offended. I sensed because it was all through texting. Now, how many of you know that when we text, probably 9 times out of 10, it's going to be misconstrued. You don't hear tonality. You don't see facial expressions. It becomes very difficult, and you have to be so eloquent and so particular and really think hard about the word choice when we're texting, when we're emailing, when we're writing someone versus when you're speaking, which is easy to self-correct. If you see something's not landing the way you meant it with someone, you can tell from their body language, from their facial expression, from a sound that they might make, right? And those are things that you can, on a dime, turn around and change to clarify with them so that they're not personally offended. Well, of course, that's not possible when you communicate by written language. And so that's why I also always encourage business owners, people who are on the delivery side of the business, to always deliver your message, if possible, in person, over a video, over the phone is the next best thing. So at least you get the tonality, right, and the cadence, and you can hear extra subliminal messages in your speech. So basically, she said to me, well, if you want to, you can sign out and you can start over and chat with somebody else. And I was like, oh, because I had said to her before, is there someone I can actually speak to, like a person on the phone I can speak to? And then she talked about how since COVID, they have less help and they're not able to speak to people on the phone. And I thought, first of all, Google's not the first company to pull that. And maybe I don't understand it. Maybe someone needs to educate me. But COVID has everyone working from home. There's no reason that your customer support can't work from home on the phone, right? So all the more reason and the easier, I think, for people to be working from home and actually being able to speak to your customers to support their needs versus having to just type things out. So I don't buy that to start with. As a company, I don't get that. But secondly, so she said, and at first when she said, well, do you want to sign out and you can chat with someone else? And I was like, oh, great. Now I can finally actually speak to someone. And then I realized she's like, no, you can sign back in and do what we're doing and chat with someone else. And I'm like, we're not really chatting. Chatting is when I'm sitting across from someone and we're just kind of chat, what they call, right? Like you're chatting it up. You're just small talk. You're chatting. That's human to human connection, speaking to one another. What we were doing was texting. And so I think that chatting and texting are the same? No, I don't. And it really bugs me that it's being used in that way. It's almost like they hijacked the word chatting because now you can chat with someone. And yes, they are live. So it's not a chat bot, which is taking that word even farther because bot, it's clearly a robot, right? It's a machine. You're not speaking to someone. And I find that incredibly frustrating. So little can be accomplished that way. Very basic things, but to try to mimic a human being at this point with our technology, it's insulting, and my problems never get resolved. So anyway, going back quickly to this because I want to be short on my Tuesday messages. So I think when you say chat, it means human to human connection, human to human talking, and texting is something else. Jeremy, hey, thanks for joining. How are you today? So great. I would love to hear what you think about this because Jeremy works in the recruiting and the hiring, not just recruitment, but helping candidates find the right place for their jobs and hiring. And, that's about personal touch. It's very much about that communication between people. So when this customer support person said to me, well, do you want to just, start over? You can chat with someone else. Can you imagine starting over after being on the phone with her? Excuse me, not on the phone, after texting with her for over an hour and a half, that I wanted to start over again with someone else. That's a worse nightmare. And so I just think it's insulting that somehow the tech industry has hijacked the word chat to imply that you're actually there speaking to another person. Yes, she was live and she was texting back and forth with me from France. But that's texting. Let's not mince words here. That's texting. It's not chatting. And I just find that while it's better than the chat bot, of course, the amount of time, the time suck that it took for me to go back and forth with her. And I found myself multiple times writing the same thing to reemphasize something that didn't get answered before. And I'm like, look up in the thread, which of course was way too long at that point, right? So that's just something I wanted to bring up today. I want to keep these short for Tuesdays, but I would love to hear your thoughts. So write in a comment about your thoughts between chatting and texting, how effective you think you are. Do you think they're synonymous with one another, and where you think maybe the differences are? Jeremy says, I try to make convos very comfortable, and I love to take pressure away when I speak to candidates. I actually do chat, and it's very personable and specific. Okay, interesting. So, great points. Agree 100%. Thank you, Jeremy. So I'm curious, when you say that you actually do chat, do you speak to them directly, whether it's on the phone or through Zoom or something like that? Or are you actually texting, writing them when you communicate with them? I'm curious when you say that you speak to the candidates and then you actually do chat with them, and it's very personal and specific. Does that mean, in my mind, are you texting them or are you chatting with them directly? Uh, my guess is, at, at least from the start, that you are speaking with them, because when I've heard you speak in your clubhouse rooms, it's about getting to know that person and really understanding them and the nuances about that person. So you say you reach out via text and always try to move it to the phone. Okay, so that's very common, right? Today in online marketing, people reach out by text. I get that, right? That's the initial contact. That's the initial point of being able to create those conversations and take it offline. So that's one thing. But when you're actually trying to support someone through a problem, you're actually trying to support someone through a purchase, through a decision that they're making, a major decision that they're going to make in their life. That's not something that's done via text, where so much can be misconstrued. So thank you for your feedback on that, Jeremy, and for your confirmation. So Tuesdays are about quick wins, experience stories, and I thank y'all for joining me today. Jeremy, thank you so much for your input. I love it when I have other people involved in the conversation. So please join me again. And please join me Thursday with my guest, Amanda Laux, who is in the hospitality world. Amanda has worked in the hotel space for her whole career, and very interesting background. So you're not going to want to miss that. Thursday, starting at Clubhouse at 11:45 in the morning, in the room there. And then we will move where you will hear the conversation and the interview from 12 to 12:30 here live, just like this, on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, and the audio on Clubhouse. And then we will go back to Clubhouse at 12:30 when the interview ends and have some conversation around it. Ask Amanda or myself any further questions, just to have general conversation about it. So thank you for joining today for my Experience Wins, Riffs with Jill Raff, where we riff on anything employee or customer experience related. And I look forward to seeing you again on Thursday. Thanks so much.